On this week's episode of the WNP podcast, could the NFL's newest brand take home a division title? Stay tuned. Episode 149 of the WNP podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Grashaw. Chase, how are you?
I am doing swell, thank you for asking. But to answer your question in the intro, the answer is no. Hate to break it to you, we'll be talking about it later, but the answer is no.
Spoilers?
Yes.
You gotta put a big spoiler warning right at the start.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert, no.
What the hell? Going to be talking about some news around the league today, including the Kyler Murray contract. Was it good for Arizona to give him that money? Was it not? I know Chase, he thinks he's a bottom 10 quarterback in the league. We'll talk about that more as we go forward. We got Jesse Bates on a holdout, Lamar Jackson showing up to camp, as well as some comments made by a defensive coordinator about Lamar Jackson. That'll be fun to talk about.
It didn't process what you said in my head. What did you say I said about Kyler?
Nothing.
You say I thought he was a bottom quarterback in the league?
Joe Burrow having surgery. So we'll let you know what his timetable looks like to return. Also going to be taking a look at all of the alternate helmets that have come out so far. Some really good ones, and then some that are, why even spend the money on those?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the main purpose of this episode, AFC and Nfc East previews. Going to be a lot of fun starting with the NFC first, because this is one of those divisions where it's I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty obvious what's going to happen.
The AFC East, a lot more fun. So
it's still obvious what's going to happen.
We'll talk about that coming up. Let's start with Kyler Murray. He gets a big contract, second highest paid quarterback, only behind Aaron Rodgers. What do you think?
It's a lot.
It is.
It is a lot of money. Got a pretty good guaranteed contract out of too. I think like 175 million totals guaranteed or something.
230.5 is I think the full duration of the contract.
Yeah, so good for him. I mean, that's what top quarterbacks are getting paid nowadays. So, you got to pay your guy. It's definitely better than the option of trying to find another player. Even though the dollar amount might be a bit for what I think Kyler fully offers. I think maybe he's underwhelmed me. I had a lot of faith coming into the NFL. Maybe he's underwhelmed me a little bit. I thought he was going to be a bit better of a passer and a bit better of a runner. I thought he was going to be like a top 3 quarterback in the league, dominant type guy, and he really hasn't established himself quite as that. But he's definitely one of those top 7 top 8 quarterbacks at the absolute worst. He's someone worthy of never losing a starting gig. It's not worth ever trying to go find a different quarterback better than him while he's still playing. So you kind of got to pay him that money with the way things are going nowadays. So it is what it is. It's kind of what you had to do. So I don't want to call it like a bad deal, because you really have no choice. It's that or you move on and don't have a franchise quarterback. So it is what it is.
There was also a leak that within the contract, I don't know if you heard about this, but within the contract, Kyler Murray must study 4 hours of whether it be film or the playbook or whatever. He has to do 4 hours every week at home, away from the practice facility and all that. That's built into his contract.
I didn't see that.
What are your thoughts on that?
If that has to be written into the contract, because that means you're not already doing it, that's not good. That's Jamarcus Russell stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
4 hours a week for your job.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? If you don't grow up living, breathing, eating, sleeping, everything, football, and you're in the NFL, then maybe it's not the right job for you. Maybe you should have went with baseball.
Well, I mean, Colin Cowherd brought up a great point. He was talking about how when there's guys in the league that are just immensely talented, like your Michael Vicks, like your Kyler Murrays, like your Brett Favre's, Big Ben even, they don't necessarily grind film, whereas when you have your Tom Brady's, your Peyton Manning's, your Joe Burrows, guys that maybe aren't as physically gifted, they are more grinders, Drew Brees even. He said that the Kyler Murray situation and those type of skill players, even though they're not grinders, they're still able to get it done. Kyler Murray undefeated in high school, Kyler Murray wins a Heisman, and Kyler Murray has been the best quarterback Arizona's seen in quite some time. So he was saying that people criticizing him for this clause, things are just done differently by different people, and that's fine. But at the same time, I kind of agree. Like,
it's a bit concerning when this guy that you're investing $230 million into.
Like, to actually write it in the clause is the main part for me.
Yeah, that's definitely strange. You want your quarterback to be in love with the game, be a student of the game, always be learning. And if he's not doing that on a weekly basis, it's definitely a cause for concern. I think the talent is very clear. And maybe if he did put that, effort into learning the game more, if this is really a problem in the past, which is why they've written it in, which feels like it would be, if he maybe put that effort in the past, maybe he'd be a more refined passer, more refined runner, more refined quarterback, and he'd be someone who'd be considered as a league MVP type. But right now he really isn't. So hopefully that's a good step in the direction, or step in the right direction for him.
Yeah, maybe he'd be a top 10 quarterback, but right now he's not. This is my opinion.
I'm not going as far as top 10, I don't think. I'd have to sit down and do a list, but just like my gut feeling doesn't say top 10. It doesn't say, like, outside top 10.
That's fine. Derek Carr's better. Facts. And Derek Carr's my 10.
Maybe a better thrower.
We're talking just quarterback in general.
Who I'd want at the quarterback position to win me a game
this year.
Still think I'm taking Kyler over Derek.
Derek Carr. Let's go, baby. Especially with Devontae Adams, the second best wide receiver in the NFL. Woo!
Well, we're talking about just quarterback, not situation.
No, I know, but he's going to show out even more than he has before.
So you're saying he is going to win the MVP because he was going to win the MVP that season before he got hurt, or was a pretty good bet to win it?
I wouldn't say that.
Put it on the hot take episode. Just do it. Just do it.
No, I'm not going to.
Soft.
You can do it.
You're soft.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think Kyler's better, so is Kyler going to win the MVP?
Maybe.
Put it on the hot takes.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay. Let's not talk about Jesse Bates, Chase's favorite player of all time.
Mike's least favorite player of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. As he is holding out with camp coming up, which, I mean, that's fine. He doesn't get his contract. The Bengals want to franchise tag him. I see both sides of it. Jesse Bates wants his money. The Bengals, they want Jesse Bates back, obviously, but even Mike Brown, the owner, came out and talked about how they hope to get Jesse Bates back. There's going to be more time to talk contract extension at the end of this season, and they really want him back. But one of their biggest focuses right now is making sure they can bring back Joe Burrow, making sure they can bring back Jamar and T and some other pieces around the team. So it makes a lot of sense on both ends.
Sure, it does. But at that point, as much as I love Joe Mixon, the running back position is so disposable that you sacrifice the running back position going forward after the season, and you just draft a new running back, especially with the crops coming out next year, and you go with a cheaper running back, and you spend more money on your safety on top of being able to pay your wide receiver and quarterback more. That's the route you take, because Joe Mixon is the type of guy that deserves to be paid based on his talent, and he's a very talented guy, but it's not very easy finding elite safeties in the league, and Jesse Bates sure as hell is an elite safety.
Yeah, but Dax Hill, very good outlook.
I like Dax Hill a lot, and it makes more sense drafting him, especially with this type of stuff going on.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that he's going to be a perfect Jesse Bates replacement, but also I think your suggestion, you got to look at everything. You can't just look at play on field compared to money. Joe Mixon is one of the leaders in the locker room. He's one of the CJ Uzomah type of guys. They lost CJ. And, I mean, CJ Uzomah is a guy like that in the locker room, but he's not a guy like that on the field. Joe Mixon, you're getting both.
And at the end of the day, that helps Joe Mixon, but it really, not much is changing leadership-wise unless Joe Burrow leaves, really. It's
career year for Joe Mixon this past year. So
yeah, no, Joe Mixon, I think he's an elite NFL, or I almost call him a quarterback, an elite NFL running back. I think he truly is, but you got to find other ways to save money to try to retain, those talents, because if you're just going to get super weak at the DB position and say Dax Hill doesn't pan out because he's a rookie, it's play Samson. If he doesn't pan out, then you're in trouble, and that won't be good. And to see the amount of guaranteed money that they're offering him, I don't blame him for holding out, because it's kind of a slap in the face based on what you see the guaranteed money being handed out nowadays in the NFL.
I mean, the Bengals don't give guaranteed money, so.
But it's adapt or die in the NFL, and right now the Bengals are not adapting.
They kind of are with Joe Burrow.
How are they adapting?
Joe Burrow.
They happen to get the first overall pick after he has a huge
They spent
year.
$280 million in the free agency 2 years ago. Bam.
But they're not adapting. They're not changing to the new norm. They're doing what every other team would have done historically.
So every other team in the world would have went after Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell? No. Adapting. High power offense. Super Bowl bound. Let's go.
Lucky Super Bowl run.
I don't know about that. The only thing is for me is Jesse Bates. I really hope that, once the year is really starting to pick up, he just signs the franchise tag and plays. If he doesn't, that's going to be really annoying. I think that the only way the Bengals should trade him is if there's absolutely no way he'll play for them, just because Jesse Bates on the team right now is a lot better than going out and getting a 2023 first-round pick. So I'd much rather have Jesse Bates play for the Bengals, even if it's a franchise tag and it's kind of, a rental type of situation, versus going out and trading for a 2023 first.
If the Lions think they're going to be legit, I would love the Lions to go out and trade for him.
After this year.
Go trade now. Go trade the Rams pick right now if they want to go out and get him, or wait, sign free agent or something.
Or the Lions pick.
No. I don't have that much faith in the team. But if they think they're going to be legit and they can do it, then that's the type of guy you go out and trade for, because it's not very easy to find those talents. And right now, Tracy Walker is a great safety, but he's nowhere near the elite category. So I would love to see him on the Lions, but I also probably wouldn't be willing to pay the price.
All right, Lamar Jackson, a quarterback that a lot of people question, would he be holding out because he does not have a extension? He is actually showing up to camp. Very impressive to see him there. However, he is controlling his own fate because he is doing his own contract negotiations. So I think this is good for him to appear in camp.
Yeah, I think it definitely is, and I think it helps him feel better, show up to camp, seeing what Kyler's gotten, see what D-Watts has gotten. I think he's held out kind of a bit on purpose. You want to see how everything else played out. He's not worried. He doesn't plan on leaving Baltimore. It seems pretty clear. He's happy to be there. He's happy to be their quarterback, and he didn't really seem like someone who was sweating too much the contract stuff quite yet. So now that he saw them get paid, he's like, all right, well, I can tell you that, this is coming from Lamar's standpoint, that I for sure deserve to be paid more than Kyler Murray. I feel like I should probably be deserved to pay more than Deshaun Watson. That's probably what he's saying. So, at least meet me in the Deshaun Watson range. That's probably what he's going to kind of say. And the way quarterback's getting paid, he definitely deserves that money. I know we're going to talk about something here in a second, and I'm going to comment on that as well. So why don't we just, if you got something to say, transition into it.
Let's do it. Mike Sando from The Athletic, he talked to 50 different NFL coaches, executives, etc. So, there's offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, etc. A defensive coordinator, unnamed, talked about Lamar Jackson and said that Lamar specifically could not be a number one quarterback. He said that he thinks he can be a number one player, but not a number one quarterback.
And he said, in the quote, he said, I don't care if he wins 12 MVPs, he'll not be a number one quarterback. If you win 12 MVPs, it kind of tells you everything you need to know. Lamar is a good thrower of the ball. I don't care what you say. He is at least a good thrower of the ball. He might not be Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, those type of just absolute elite top tier type guys. But he is absolutely a top half of the league thrower of starters, a good thrower of the ball, and he is the best running quarterback in the league, and that's not even a debate. That combination allows him to have a unique skill set that, it's not like Michael Vick did it differently and, was a more just natural thrower in terms of arm strength, that type of stuff. But it's a kind of Vick skill set where doesn't seem to get worn down. He for the most part, he did face some injuries, but usually during the season when he is playing healthy, he doesn't seem like he gets slower and slower as the year goes on. He's good moving. Obviously, he can throw the ball on the run. He's got a strong arm. He can get it downfield. So I just heavily disagree. I view him as safely a top 10 quarterback. He's above Kyler Murray without a doubt for me. It's not even a question. Mm-hmm. It's silly to me to think that he can't be viewed as a number one type quarterback.
Okay, I got the full quote here because there's only a snippet. First, there was another quote by a different person said, if he has to pass to win the game, they ain't winning the game. That was one quote. And then the defensive coordinator in question said, here's his full quote. He's so unique as an athlete, and he's a really good football player. But I don't care if he wins the league MVP 12 times. I don't think he'll ever be a number one as a quarterback. He'll be a number one as a football player, but not as a quarterback. So many games come down to 2 minutes, and that is why they have a hard time advancing, even when they are good on defense. Playoffs are tight. You have to be able to throw the ball, and he is just so inconsistent throwing the ball. It's hit or miss.
I don't think he's
full quote.
And I don't think he's inconsistent as these guys think he do. Sure, they're paid the money they are and in the roles they are for a reason. So you take the word for it more than mine. I don't care. That's not a problem. I'm just sharing my opinions. I don't think he's anywhere near as inconsistent as they say he is. Sure, he has some inconsistencies, kind of like almost any other quarterback does. It's very rare that a quarterback is just so consistently dominant throwing the ball. They're bound to have hiccups, and his hiccups aren't like atrocious. I think he's going to be just fine. And to say that he can't be a number one quarterback of all time, well, look where the quarterback position is nowadays. How many teams have mobile quarterbacks? Like just pure runner type guys. Just off the top of my head, you got a Josh Allen, you got a Kyler Murray, you got a Dak Prescott, of course, you got Lamar Jackson, you got Trey Lance. You got those types of guys, Justin Fields as well. But even like the Joe Burrows who run minimally, or the Trevor Lawrences, or the Justin Herberts, those guys move a bit too. Like the whole quarterback position is moving towards you have to be able to run on top of being a thrower. Mm-hmm. So to say he can't be a number one quarterback is just flat out wrong, because the quarterback position is completely different than it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Right. So actually, why don't we just quickly go through the Athletics top couple and compare them to Kyler?
Sure.
Because we talked about Kyler as he a potential top 10 quarterback. Also, before we do that, real quick, Matt Ryan was the 14th ranked quarterback. Right behind him, you had Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill, Mac Jones, Baker Mayfield. Jalen Hurts was 20. Do you think that Matt Ryan is better than all these guys? Because I personally would rather Kirk Cousins over Matt Ryan, so I was surprised that Kirk Cousins was a whole tier below Matt Ryan.
It's not even a debate between Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan. Kirk Cousins has consistently been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. He really has been a very good quarterback, and it's not fair the slander that he gets. So I 1,000% would. I'd probably take Jalen Hurts over Matt Ryan right now too. The throwing, I am a very non-Jalen Hurts supporter in the past, and I still kind of am that way in terms of a thrower, but he's such a, he's a dominant runner, and his passing has definitely improved since he's gone to the NFL. You can see that. So his passing is adequate enough with his running ability where what they run with the Eagles, they're going to be able to succeed, and you can win with that type of quarterback for sure.
And Matt Ryan was in the same tier of Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford. Like all those, Matt Ryan was in that same tier, which I thought was a little surprising.
Maybe if he could throw more than 2 red zone touchdowns a year, maybe. But he is so bad in the red zone, it's comical.
All right, let's go quick. Kyler versus Aaron Rodgers. Who'd you rather have?
Rodgers.
Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady. Josh Allen. Justin Herbert.
This is a terrible order, by the way.
Joe Burrow. This is their top, rankings based on the coordinators and everything.
It's terrible.
Start of tier 2, Matt Stafford. Russell Wilson.
That's close. I'll give the edge to Russ for the experience.
This one, we're only taking into account the actual play on field. So Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking only to play on field, Deshaun Watson's the top 3. So
okay. Lamar Jackson.
So yeah, I guess that both put him outside the top 10 right there.
And then
look at that.
Dak Prescott versus Kyler.
I'm taking Kyler.
I would too. Derek Carr versus Kyler.
I'm taking Kyler right now.
I take Carr. So you would have Kyler as your 11.
He's my 11 quarterback.
I would have him as my 12. So
Actually, no, he's 12 because Trey Lance is number 1, obviously.
Eesh.
No. But yeah, right now, so I'd have him as 11. You could argue he could be in the 10 because I'd probably have like Russell Wilson as my 10. Mm-hmm. And I think Russ is great, but he does have a strong tendency to start big and then slow down heavy, which is a very big concern for the quarterback position. All
right, Joe Burrow, he's having surgery in the next coming days, appendicitis.
True team player.
Yeah.
True team player. He's like, what's really going to help if I get a little more mobile? What if I take out a couple pounds? It's going to add to my speed a little bit. So that's what Joe Burrow's doing here. Ultimate team guy. But in all reality, obviously appendicitis pops up. It's a tough thing to deal with. I haven't had to deal with it, knock on wood. But I know people that have, and it's definitely doesn't seem fun. So, it should be not too long of recovery time, but
right.
It'll be a good break. He doesn't really need to be playing in these games. He can't stay away. Just, you don't need to risk anything of him too. So just, let him take his time healing. He'll be fine.
Absolutely. I don't know what the average heal time is, but it's definitely not as bad as, an Achilles, ACL.
No, it is not.
All that kind of stuff.
It's a couple weeks.
Max. So Burrow going to be ready to go. Alternate helmets. I kind of wanted to go through every one, but we're on a bit of a time constraint, and we've got a big segment when it comes to division preview. So let's just hit on maybe our top 2 and our bottom 2, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, it works for me.
Want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Number 1 is Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes, sir.
It's going to look so good on those whites. It really is. It's just nice, clean, simple, but unique at the same time. And that's what you want to hit on as a uniform, as a jersey. You want it to be simple but unique, and it really just pops. So Bengals are clearly one. My number 2 is the Carolina Panthers. It's tough between them and the Jets, honestly. They're fighting for that number 2 spot, but I'm going to go with the Panthers. I really love black on blue, or blue on black, I guess technically is what that would be. I love that color scheme. It looks so good with their logo on the helmet. Everything looks really nice. It just looks clean. It's great. And then, as I said, I don't mention with the Jets, the green looks great on it as well. Mm-hmm. What are your top 2?
The Bengals, number 1, pretty easily. I like the Panthers a lot too, but to be different, I'll go with the Cowboys. It's similar to the Bengals where it's just super clean. And there's some helmets in here that are pretty simple, nothing too different. But the Cowboys, they have a little bit extra going on with the stripes, which makes me like it a little bit more. Plus, white helmets just look clean. I don't know. The Patriots alternate helmet looks really nice too. So there's a couple, but I would say the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's fair. Bottom 2 though, for me right now, I
want to show you something just in case you forgot, because this came out like super early on. Let me just make sure the recording doesn't blow up. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
So, I'll say my very clear one for last. So it's close between that one and another one. So I got a feeling you're going to pick that one.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not, just to be different, because it's a tie for the second to last with this one and the other one. I'm gonna go with the Saints one. I really hate those mini logos on the middle to make it look like a carbon fiber type thing. I think that's stupid. It just looks terrible. And then by far the worst, the Cardinals. It couldn't be any more boring. Black helmets are great. Shiny black helmets with a black cage in your normal logo are terrible.
Yeah.
You go with a matte black and you can go with black cage, it's fine. You go with that black and you go with a white cage or a red cage, and it's fine. To just do that plain black, it looks like any high school helmet would. It looks so terrible, boring, ugly. I don't want to see them wear it. As much as I love black uniforms, I don't want to see them wear that at all.
I agree. The bottom 2, easily the Arizona Cardinals and the Washington Commanders for me. I actually have the Commanders as worse because I think the front of it just looks terribly stupid.
It does.
You just got the W logo right on the front, like right where their forehead is, and then the numbers on the side. I think it looks terrible. It's same thing with Arizona. It's a glossy black with a black face mask and just not much going on. So I think those 2 easily the worst.
Yes.
All right. Now
let's roll.
The big segment. Now we get into the division preview for the AFC and NFC East. We're starting with the NFC this time. We started with the NFC last time, so I don't know if we're going to go NFC all the way through, or if not, then we can do AFC for the next 2. But
AFC for the next 2.
Either way.
Especially if the NFC, like the North episode, if we have guests on, like they're going to talk about the North more.
But also, you look at the West, we're going to have guests on for the AFC West.
All right, well, we'll figure it out. How's that sound?
There we go. Yeah, we're going to start with the NFC East. This was the division out of these 2 that we're least excited for. So we'll just hop right into it. You've got the Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, and Giants. The records last year, Cowboys won the division 12-5. The Eagles went 9-8, still making playoffs. They were the 7 seed. The Washington Commanders 7-10. The New York Giants 4-13. So not a great division overall. But what are your divisions looking like, or what is your NFC East looking like coming into the season?
Yeah, so number 1 in the division, I do have the Philadelphia Eagles going 12-5, 5-1 in the division. Number 2, I have the Dallas Cowboys going 11-6, 5-1 in the division. Number 3, I have the Washington Commanders at 5-12 with 1-5 in the division. And number 4, I have the last place in the league, New York Giants, going 3-14 and 1-5 in the division. I think the top 2 teams are so clear and evident in this division. I have zero faith in Washington's offense right now. I like a lot of the pieces. I have no faith in Carson Wentz anymore. They're not going to use Antonio Gibson like they should, which is a mistake. The receivers, you haven't seen enough from any of them yet. There's really no tight end on the offensive line. You know, it's whatever. It's really going to be on the backs of the defense or a Carson Wentz breakout this year for the Commanders, which is possible, but I'm not putting my stake into it right now. I'd rather bet on the other teams. And then the Giants are just they're not going to be good. I think Saquon has a chance of having a nice season because he's going to get a lot of work just by default as long as he stays healthy. But I think Daniel Jones is going to falter pretty. I really got a bad feeling with Daniel Jones. He's going to falter pretty hard, and when he falters, it's all just going to collapse.
Yeah, I've got the Eagles at number 1 at 11-6, 4-2 in the division. The Cowboys 11-6 as well, but 3-3 in the division. The Commanders 6-11, 4-2 in the division, and the Giants 2-15, 1-5 in the division. Hey, I talked about it last week. I've got 3 teams that are all 2-15, and I don't like that because I think it's not very likely that a team can only muster 2 wins, and I think these teams will get more, but it's so hard to look at their schedule and be like, yeah, they're going to beat this team because odds on they're not going to, but one of them, they're going to sneak one, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it always happens. I talked about that last episode. I try to find one where it's like, well, it could happen because this, and this. And, really that's kind of what I did with these teams and kind of what I did with the Giants to get them to 3 because 2 it seems too unlikely.
All right. You talked me into it. They're getting one over the Lions.
No.
Oh, how about that?
No. Well, since we're on them real quick, I can see who I got my wins for them over. I have them randomly beating the Ravens. It just feels like that type of game that could happen. And then, actually, I do have them beating the Lions because that would be the game Lions lose. And then the Commanders.
I've got them beating the Bears and where's the other one? Where's the other one? I can't find it.
Probably a division game, right?
The Cowboys.
Oh, them boys.
Beating the Cowboys on Thursday night.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we both had Philly number 1.
We did.
So let's talk them. They're an interesting team this year for sure. When you look at this Eagles roster, when you look at starting from the quarterback and going outward, Jalen Hurts is not a super talented passer, fine passer. I'd call him maybe slightly below league average as a passer, but he is a good runner. He's hard to take down. He runs like a freaking fullback out there. He's just strong. He's like a Cam Newton type runner, not as electric, but like in terms of run style, that's kind of how he is. So he's going to bring a good dynamic with the mix of the two. I don't know what's going to go on with the running backs this year. I don't know if it's going to be all Miles Sanders, if we're going to see Kenneth Gainwell, or if we're going to see Boston Scott, but I assume we'll see them at least a little bit. But the running back position, nothing crazy, nothing to worry about. The receiving core and the offensive line and tight end is really where things are quite nice for me. I am a huge Devontae Smith fan. I'm a big A.J. Brown fan as well. I think Devontae Smith's going to have the better season of the two personally. Hot take probably. I'll probably put that on the hot takes episode, I'm not going to lie. But then you got Dallas Goedert, who is a very underrated tight end in the league. Someone who's going to have a great season with that offensive line, giving Jalen Hurts a bunch of time to throw the ball. It's the best offensive line in football. I don't really think there's, I think that the Lions, as a team that has a chance to, maybe overtake them. The Chiefs are in a strong spot right now too, but right now the Eagles, they're just the number 1 offensive line for me. It's going to help them out so much. Having a top O-line in the league, it just makes your team so much better. They're going to win games alone because he's going to have 2.5, 3 seconds to throw the ball sometimes. And that's a huge difference in the NFL. If you have that much time to throw the ball, you're completing the pass, pretty much guaranteed. So the offense, it's going to be strong. And you go look at that defense. I mean, you got Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave up front. Those guys are fantastic. The linebackers are solid. They drafted Nakobe Dean, who I think is going to play a nice role as a rookie. I think they got him at a great value. And, I still like Hassan Reddick and T.J. Edwards. And then the DB core is very nice. And James Bradbury, Darius Slay, Anthony Harris, Avonte Maddox. I think it's just a very talented, well-rounded team that I think is really going to win very collectively.
I think defense is better than their offense. I still have question marks around Jalen Hurts, and I don't think the running back room is all that great. Will they produce? Yes, because they're one of the heaviest rushing teams in the league. They've got a lot of volume in the run game. But I think overall, Jalen Hurts and the running back core in general is where I kind of have some question marks. But they did great things at the draft. Going out, getting A.J. Brown through trade, like you said, picking up Nakobe Dean when he fell all the way to the 3rd round, and then getting Jordan Davis, arguably the most talented player in the draft.
I don't need to mention Jordan Davis.
So
look at that.
There's a lot of things that they did really well, and I think that's what pushes them above Dallas for us, is while Dallas lost a lot of players, and we'll talk about that when we get to them, Philly just added players. Now, they lost 1 or 2 here and there, but really, when you look at the collective, they just upgraded this offseason tremendously. So it's
Absolutely.
really nice to see out of the Eagles. This is a team, I think, similar to the Colts when it comes to my opinion, at least. I think they make the playoffs. I don't know how much success they see. Now, the NFC is a little bit weaker, so depending on matchup, they could win a round or 2, but I think overall I see them more of a one-and-done team. They're still a little bit young at the key position, so I think the future's bright, and we have them winning the division, but I'd settle down on any type of playoff success.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I think it could be a team that falters come playoff time, but I think the way their schedule goes, it works out pretty well in their favor. So I think it should be a fun season for Eagles fans. It'll be a nice team to own for fantasy. I think the passing game, it's gonna be better than you think it is. So not like dominant by any means, but I think he could be a 3,800 yard passer at least, on top of being a good runner as well. So I think there's a chance for some kind of explosiveness to this offense. I've got a lot of faith in this team, which I never really thought I'd say with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, but I do.
Landon, been on the show before. My cousin, he was telling me today that he's a big Eagles guy. Now, obviously, he's a Raiders fan first, but I was a little bit surprised when he said he was a big Eagles guy. Like, that's not a team you necessarily say you're a big fan of.
Yeah, and it's a team that's very different than his favorite team, too.
Right.
So if it was a team that had a lot of similarities, sure. I like the Jags because, the Lions, misery loves company, two terrible teams, terrible franchises. But the Jags, or the Raiders and the Eagles they're very different in how they approach everything, so it's definitely weird.
All right, let's not talk about the Dallas Cowboys. I think you and I both have them at 11-6.
Yeah, my playoff predictor, I forgot that it freaked out one day, and the changes I made to it once, because I went through, made some changes, didn't save, so I still have them at 12-5 in here, but I got to figure out which game it was that I had them losing, but I do have them 11-6, so what I feel better at.
Gotcha. What was funny is I had a problem with the Cowboys too. They were 11-5, and for some reason I would go through their schedule and couldn't find who, they didn't have a win or loss against. And then I went through every single other team and found the other team, and had to do it on their sheet, not the Cowboys.
Weird.
Yeah, very weird. But some of the big departures for the Cowboys, obviously Amari Cooper, we know about him. Randy Gregory, he went over to Denver. Cedric Wilson to Miami. La'el Collins goes to Cincinnati. Connor Williams goes to Miami as well. So they lost a lot of pieces and didn't necessarily bring all of them back, or at least fill those positions. They brought in Dante Fowler, who they hope can do a similar role to Randy Gregory, but definitely not going to be at the same level. So overall, team kind of took a little bit of a dip.
Yes, it definitely did, but I still think that it's a team that's in a relatively nice spot for a playoff contention team. Not necessarily dominant, but a team that should be playoffs. Not really too much of a concern at the end of the day. Dak is a good quarterback. He's not some absolute monster, but he's a very, very reliable, trustworthy quarterback as long as he stays healthy. I've got more faith in Zeke than you do. You've got more faith in Tony Pollard than I do. Regardless, those two are combining for one of the better running back duos in the league, in my opinion. And then when you got CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, who's ready for a breakout, it's a nice receiving core on top of Dalton Schultz, who's arguably a top 6 tight end in the league, maybe even higher. I don't know. Mm-hmm. The offense has enough to be electric, and then they have, the top 3 defensive player in the league right now already in Micah Parsons. There's enough top end talent in place where this team should be able to win with those top end guys, and then the rest can kind of fill in. When you look at like a Leighton Vander Esch, he struggled a little bit the last few years. He'll fill in. Jabril Cox will hopefully see the field at linebacker as well. The DBs, Trayvon Diggs obviously lets up a lot of yards, but he's good at picking the ball. So if he can even just bring down that yardage total a little bit, him with Kelvin Joseph, it should be a nice duo, not necessarily great, not necessarily terrible. So there's enough around those elite pieces where this team could go on and have some real success.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys is the Cowboys at their peak could be a fantastic team because they have a lot of very high-end talent, where the Eagles, more of a well-rounded team with good talent at every other position. So, are you getting consistency, or are you going to see the high end versus low end of the Cowboys? That's where your decision comes down to. We both went the Eagles. The draft, decent. They added Tyler Smith, offensive tackle out of Tulsa. Sam Williams, who I know a lot of people liked on the edge position. And then Jalen Tolbert, who is a fantasy darling right now. A lot of people are trying to pick up Jalen Tolbert, hoping that he'll do something.
It all depends on how early Michael Gallup plays. If Michael Gallup plays week 1 because there's concerns he wouldn't, Tolbert's not going to see the field because James Washington's going to play the slot, and you got CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup on the outside.
Here's the thing, though, with James Washington. It seems obvious that he would be the guy over Jalen Tolbert, over a third-round rookie. But James Washington has gotten beat out by Deontay Johnson.
Who's an elite NFL receiver.
By Chase Claypool.
they played different roles is the problem.
But he's supposed to be that number 2 or number 3 guy for the past couple of years on the Steelers, and he's just gotten beat every time.
Yeah, it's fair to have the skepticism, but he's just the most pure slot receiver on this roster. So he's gonna if we're gonna have a slot guy, if it's not Tony Pollard getting those slot snaps, it's gonna be James Washington.
Also, Deontay Johnson, elite wide receiver. I don't know about that.
He definitely is. He had the struggles with drops, but if you look at the separation numbers, he's always among the top in the league. He's an elite separator. It's just the case, dude.
But the thing is, you can't be an elite wide receiver if you have that elite separation, yet still don't do anything with it.
What do you want him to do? He had the frickin' grandpa throw him the ball. Now he's got Kenny Pickett or frickin' Mitch Trubisky. Poor guy. He's going to walk in free agency. He's going to go somewhere with a better quarterback situation, and he's going to play really well.
A.J. Green had Andy Dalton. And A.J. Green's...
had Pro Bowler Andy Dalton.
Fantastic.
Pro Bowler Andy Dalton.
Pro Bowler Big Ben.
Corpse.
Super Bowl winner Big Ben.
Corpse of Big Ben. Bigs Bunny.
All right, let's talk about the Washington Commanders now. You and I both have them third. So
we do have to talk about them.
This is a team where I see them kind of similar to how I was talking about Jacksonville in the last episode, where I don't have them winning a lot of games, but I think there's pieces such as Trevor Lawrence with the Jags that can really elevate them. This Washington Commanders team, I think if the defense can really step up, they stay healthy, like Chase Young, he got injured last year, but if they can stay healthy, if Carson Wentz doesn't absolutely ruin everything for them with his turnovers, then I think very likely Washington could be a team fighting for a playoff spot and not at 6-11 like I have them.
Yeah, and I am at 5-12 because I don't have a lot of faith right now in the offense, and it's not impossible. The defense should play fine. Chase Young, if he bounces back and becomes an elite player like he was thought to be coming out of the draft, combining him with Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, even Fedarian Mathis, Jamin Davis, you got all these guys that are going to be going after the quarterback a little bit, and you can't double team everybody, so that means someone's bound to have success getting the quarterback this year, which will be nice. So if he can hit that elite level like he was supposed to, then it'll be a lot better of an outlook for the team. But right now, I'm kind of counting on him taking a step forward, but not necessarily that elite step that is necessary. The offense is where my problem really is. You got Carson Wentz. That's fine. I think Sam Howell will start at some point in the season because things are going to go wrong for Carson Wentz. I don't have much faith anymore. The running backs, they already said they're not going to give Antonio Gibson the workhorse, which I think he's as good as JD because he is as a pass catcher. I think that Antonio Gibson's at least equal, if not better, and is just a way better runner. So let him be the workhorse. Let Brian Robinson spell. Maybe use JD McKissick in some slot opportunities. Maybe use him as a guy that you spell Gibson for in some passing situations if he's getting tired. But I think Gibson needs to be used a lot more. The receivers, Terry McLaurin, has yet to be a consistent dominant player. Has had some good signs, but right now he's looking more like a Djax type guy where he has 5 good games a year and then he has 12 nothing games a year. John Dotson's rookie. Curtis Samuel couldn't stay healthy, so we'll see. And then the offensive line, I'm just Charles Leno. Yeah, it's a nice addition, but as a whole, I'm not really a huge fan of it. I think Samuel Cosme's got a chance to take a good step, but he was someone that was a little bit more of a development piece for me anyway coming out of the draft. So he might need another year before he's really that kind of dude.
Yeah, and losing your best offensive lineman in Brandon Scherf, that's going to hurt too. Yeah. So this is just a team where I think we have their record where it is for a reason, because when you look at other teams, when you compare them to other teams, they're just not necessarily there. But it's going to be a team that can keep games close, and they're going to be able to squeak some out. So
yeah,
I think very likely they could be going 8 to 9 wins, but we'll have to wait and see. It's a team I'm just not very excited for. I'm excited to see what Chase Young and some of the players in that defense can do, but I think that's about it.
Yeah, it would be cool if you kind of go back to the Jonathan Stewart and what's his nuts with the Panthers back in the day, the duo that Ron Rivera had.
Yeah.
Why am I drawing a blank?
I don't know the other.
But anyways, it'd be cool if Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson became that. Then it would be more fun to watch the offense, but I don't think they're going to become that. So don't have too much stock in it. So the offense shouldn't be that fun to watch.
All right, let's not talk about the New York Giants. This could be yet another team where the offense is kind of not that fun to watch. Obviously, you have Saquon Barkley, but when you look at what was that passing game last year, it was ugly. I mean, Kenny Golladay couldn't stay healthy. Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, guys that couldn't stay healthy. Daniel Jones couldn't stay. Like, no one could stay healthy, but at the same time, when they were, I wasn't all that impressed. So
no, I mean, Daniel Jones only had 10 passing touchdowns last year, dude.
Mm-hmm. Not great.
No, not good at all. The passing offense is going to be terrible. I really am not like a big fan of the pieces that are in place. There's some fine ones, but that's really about it. I like Saquon a lot, and I think he's going to have to carry on a heavy workload, and he's going to get a lot of targets. Hopefully he stays healthy. He can be a nice fancy option for you, but in terms of helping out the team win, he's only going to be able to do so much. It's just not good. They kind of need to be bad. I honestly think they're better off, once they realize they're going to suck, just realize it's a lost season. Daniel Jones called a career in New York. You run the ball out. You play some losing football. You get a high draft pick. You get an elite quarterback in this draft class because there's some good ones to choose from. And I think that's probably the best route, really. They've got, a couple fine young pieces in place with Azeez Ojulari, Kayvon Thibodeau on the back end, in defense, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So just run with it. Run with those young guys. Get a young quarterback in and take the time to develop them.
Yeah, and they lost a couple pieces like James Bradbury, Jabril Peppers, Evan Ingram, who not necessarily great with his hands, but was a guy who was very highly touted and super athletic. And who knows, with the Jags, he could find a revival in his career.
At the end of the day, Evan Ingram had one of the best rookie tight end seasons of all time, in terms of targets, yardage, catches, all that stuff. He is the same age as Travis Kelce when Travis Kelce became dominant. So it's not impossible that Evan Ingram figures it out. It really is.
Right.
He has the right tools in place, but he just has hands of butter.
Also, it's kind of sad to see where Kenny Golladay is gone. Obviously, injuries hurt him, but it just seems like he's kind of slowed down anyways.
He just didn't look good on the field at any point for the Giants.
Similar to like a Julio Jones type of situation because,
speaking of
he had
which,
injuries. Yeah, he got signed to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
We didn't bring that up. So that's exciting.
But also, Chris Godwin's going to be ready for camp. So if you're telling me the 1, 2, 3 is going to be Evans, Godwin, and Jones, that's going to be pretty dangerous.
Yeah. I might have to make some tweaks to the Bucks and make him go 17-0 or something.
I've got all 3 on my roster. So
in Johnny's league,
yeah,
that's a little too much.
No, see, I think it's fun because Tom Brady, he's going to spread the ball. So if I just play all 3, then I know at least one of them is going to go off.
So if you play all 3, you should be good for a combined 190 yards, 2 touchdowns every game. That's fair.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. I'm down.
That's funny.
And then there was one more thing I wanted to. Kayvon Thibodeau, like you mentioned, and then Evan Neal being the 2 big guys they got in this year's draft. The Giants that being at 5 and 7. Wan'Dale Robinson at the 211. I like Robinson, but this kind of feels like the Tutu Atwell pick that happened in this draft because there's the Rams last year who went after Tutu Atwell. Not great. This one, I think Wan'Dale Robinson's a better player than Tutu.
Yes, he absolutely is.
But there are other guys on the board that I would much rather.
Even if you want to go with that type of player, he's not as explosive or in terms of speed-wise, but David Bell does a lot of the same things that Wan'Dale Robinson does. You should have went David Bell. Mm-hmm. That would have, if you want to go that type
way
of guy.
later.
Yeah. But instead, you go Wan'Dale Robinson, and not good.
Also, Kadarius Toney, what's going to happen with him? They were
sticking around, apparently.
Yeah, there was initial talks that they were ready to go. I'm just thinking, you're going to give up on a guy after one season? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's from what it seems like, it could be locker room, off the field character issue type things. If that's the case, that's tough. Hopefully he matures and figures that stuff out. It's just from how things have worked out, from kind of what it feels like. He got in trouble with the team last year for kind of acting that way off the field. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he figures it out, and if he does get traded, gets a better opportunity, or if he sticks with the Giants, hopefully he just figures it out there. So he does have a lot of talent.
That is our NFC East. Let's now move to the AFC East. Chase,
cool beans.
We would love to hear your records.
I bet you would. So I do have the number 1 team in all of football this year. The Miami Dolphins. No, the Buffalo Bills, 13-4, going 4-2 in the division. Of course, making the playoffs. Then I have the New England Patriots going 9-8, 3-3 in the division, being the 8th team. So just missing the playoffs. A team that I think is right there on that edge. Wouldn't be surprised if they get 2 more wins or 2 less wins. It's not as dynamic as a team anymore with Tom Brady, but it's still a team that has talent. The New York Jets, I've got 7-10, 3-3. I've got Zach Wilson definitely taking a step and the team taking a step, but I think I got him at their ceiling here at 7 wins, in my opinion. And then Miami Dolphins, 5-11, 2-4, 0 faith.
5-11.
Typo. Good call. Let's see. 6-11.
6-11.
6-11.
Gotcha.
Still 0 faith. Again, ceiling.
Man, you're gonna get roasted by a Dolphins fan that we know.
He can try to show me some sort of facts that can sway my opinion, but he's not going to succeed.
I should mention what we finished last season. The Buffalo Bills 11-6, the Patriots 10-7, the Dolphins 9-8, and the Jets 4-13 last year. The Bills dispatched of the. I think they played the New England Patriots in the first round last year, right? I think so, because it was the Chiefs versus the Steelers.
Yeah.
So New England lost first round, the Bills lost second round. So
yes, but the Bills are elite this year.
I will say, I do have the Bills 13-4, 4-2.
Look at that.
So I don't know if we have the exact same matchups, but there's potential there. Second, I have the Miami Dolphins at 9-8, going 4-2 the division.
Missing or making?
Missing. I've got the New England Patriots at 8-9, going 2-4 in the division, and then the New York Jets also going 7-10, 2-4 in the division. So
you've got more optimism on this division than I do. Not a ton more, but you've got more.
I think the Patriots are the better all-around team than the Dolphins, but if Tua figures it out, that can be one of the more exciting offenses in the league because
absolutely
they have all of that potential with after the catch of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But let's start with the Bills because that is our first place team. I'm just curious, what weeks do you have them losing so that we can see if we have the same exact?
I am losing week 1 to the Rams.
Okay, we don't then.
Then I have them going on. What is a stretch? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 game winning streak, 11 game winning streak, whatever the hell it is. Then I have them dropping games to the Patriots, the Dolphins, and then I also chose them just to lose against the Bears because they're going to lose a random game to some really bad team.
Okay, so I've got them losing to the Dolphins in week 3, the Ravens in week 4, the Packers in week 8, and then the Jets in week 9.
I might switch my Dolphins games because I think the Dolphins will beat them once. I do, and I might switch because now I'm thinking about it. Week 15 in Buffalo is going to be not the most fun conditions,
right?
So I'd put more stake in Buffalo now. So I get at the end of the day, it'd still be the same records for both those teams, but just flip which ones they're winning.
Yeah, I feel you there. All right, what do we like about the Bills? Why do we have them first place in the division? You have them first place in the league. I've got them tied for first place in the league with another team that has not been mentioned yet. So why do we like them so much?
Homer bias. I have no idea what the actual team that is for him, guys, just so you know. Why do I like the Bills so much? I mean, he looks good in shorts. He has a rocket arm. LaGuardia Airport's okay. Josh Allen is elite. So Josh Allen is my favorite quarterback, currently favorite player in the NFL. I've been a huge fan since watching him play at Wyoming. I just thought that every tool was there for him to become an elite player, and people are always like, you can't teach accuracy, you can't teach consistency, you can't teach patience. Well, Josh Allen proved that you absolutely can learn it, at least. And maybe you can't teach it, but you can learn it. And he definitely learned it, and he is looking like a stud. He's top 2 quarterback in the league right now. I have no problem. I would call him number 1. As much as, Patrick Mahomes, talent-wise, maybe still deserves that, I would call him number 1. I have no problem with anybody calling him number 2 either. He's just so good, and he's so dynamic. He is a hell of a thrower, one of the best throwers of the football in the league, on top of being one of the best runners in the league at the quarterback position. Like, he just offers everything you need. Now let's go dive into this offense a little bit, shall we? Sure. Starting at running back. Devin Singletary is a bit underwhelming, but he ended the season, last year very strong, looking actually pretty solid. So if he's someone that can really only get the running work, I think you're going to be just fine. James Cook is an excellent pass catcher.
Yeah.
And should be one of the better rookie options in terms of running backs because of the pass catching he's going to get for fantasy. But like in terms of NFL players, I think he's just going to be a really nice, kind of dump off option. Good in the screen game, do that type of stuff for the Bills. Absolutely. Their receiving core of Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, those two are just, I think, top end talents. Stephon Diggs is absolutely elite. Gabriel Davis, I think, is the type of guy who I've always liked and is on the cusp of being an elite type player. That playoff game last year was a really big step towards that, towards that direction. And I think he's going to kind of ride off of that. Not obviously put up 4 touchdowns every game, but I think he's a guy who has legitimate 10 touchdown upside, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. That's I don't think that's impossible at all from Gabriel Davis, and that would make him an elite player in the league. And right now with Jameson Crowder, Khalil Shakir, Isaiah McKenzie, whoever the hell it's going to be at the slot receiver position, any of those guys are great slot receiver options for Josh Allen. The guys are going to be covered less than Diggs, less than Davis, less than Dawson Knox. And it's just going to lead for them to be target monsters and just get open downfield and just, be what the hell, chain movers. That's the word I'm looking for. So I think it's just going to be a very efficient, strong offense with a solid offensive line and all the pieces around it. It's just going to be a high scoring offense. I would probably bet on them being top 2 at worst, top 3 scoring offenses in the league.
I think Josh Allen is the most talented quarterback in the NFL right now. However, I do not have him as the best quarterback right now. There is another quarterback that I'd rather have if the game was on the line to take them down and score. Joe Burrow. No, I'm not saying Joe Burrow is the number 1 quarterback.
No, and I can totally understand that. Like I don't have any problem with people saying that. I just the strides that he's taken on top of where he is right now, there's optimism where he can even round it out even more because he's still young. He's still only 24, 25 years old, or 25 years old.
But I don't have as much faith in some of the other players on their offense, such as the running back core. I think it can be okay. Also, Gabe Davis, I think that a lot of people have just a great recency bias, and how could you not with his huge game against the Chiefs? I don't necessarily think that he is worth. I think he's going as like a.
I won't be drafting him in any redraft leagues. Yeah, he is going too high because there is a floor where it doesn't work out. It definitely is possible. I am a believer in the talent, but like he's even inflated up to like 3rd, 4th, 5th round in single quarterbacks, and like that's you can't do that just based off the postseason production. I believe in the talent a lot, but like I won't be drafting him in redraft leagues.
And I think it's pretty obvious that this offense is going to continue to run through Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. So. Really like it there. The defense, one of the best defenses in the league with just a phenomenal defensive back group with Tre'Davious White and their 2 safeties and Poyer and Hyde. They also have just a really stout defensive line, and they added Von Miller to that, so that's really exciting too. The linebacker core can be questioned a little bit because I know a lot of people thought Edmonds would be one of these elite guys at this point where he hasn't really gotten to that point. Yes, he's good, but is he elite? No, not necessarily. So a really good overall defense, and then you're led by one of the most talented, if not the most talented quarterback in the NFL. So the Bills, 13-4. That's not even their ceiling, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm really not that worried about the linebacker core because they're not going to have a lot of like heavy linebacker like seams. So like when you got Matt Milano and Trey Edmonds as the core, then rookie Terrell Bernard will get out there a little bit like that'll be perfectly fine with that DB core, that D-line core. The middle of the defense, we might have some concerns, but I don't think it's really too much of a worry because they'll have their nickel back, drop in a little more. That they'll have DBs help out in that middle of the field a little bit more, where it's not going to be that much of a concern. I think both sides of the ball are going to be pretty dominant for the Bills this year.
And I will say that I think that Von Miller addition was huge for the Bills because although the Bills have been going heavy on the defensive line with Greg Rousseau last year, Boogie Basham last year, and then the defensive lineman in AJ Epinesa. There we go. Yeah. In 2020, even though they've been going heavy on the defensive line, they haven't really gotten that production at pressuring the quarterback and getting the sacks. So I think Von Miller, even though he is aging a little bit, he's still a guy that is just pure pass rush. He's going to be a great piece for him.
Absolutely. And they got the best rookie punter in the league, maybe one of the best punters in the league already, Matt Araiza.
All right, let's talk about the Patriots now because you've got them number 2. I've got them number 3, but it's not as big of a gap between our 2 and 3 as the 2 for me and the 4 for you. So why do we like the Patriots?
So Mac Jones is exactly what we thought he would be. He was an NFL-ready quarterback who I don't know how much upside there is. I think he's kind of playing at his upside. Sure, he's going to get a little bit better, a little more efficient, but like he's just kind of another quarterback, really, at the end of the day. I think we're going to see that kind of play this year from him. The running backs, I like the talent of Damon Harris. I like the talent of Ramondre Stevenson. I like the talent of Pierre Strong. But at the end of the day, none of these guys are going to be workhorses. So the way they do things. And I like having a workhorse back because, especially, a talented quarter or running back, helps them kind of get into a rhythm, and they can, you'll see like a guy like Derrick Henry. He's better as the game goes on because he's got a rhythm. He knows when he's getting the ball. It helps him just kind of build as he wears guys down. He keeps going. And running backs that can do that have a lot of success. And Damian Harris and Rondé Stevenson are sure as hell built for that, but they just don't get the workload to do it. So I think it's going to limit their running game because of how they're used. And then the receiving core is just terrible.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely terrible. You got to hope Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith step up again. Well, Jonnu Smith just needs to step up at all, but Hunter Henry has another nice year. So I just don't have a lot of faith in the offense. And then the defense is, where the bread and butter is hopefully going to be for them. It's where they've kind of, they've rode off the back of Tom Brady playing well, and then the defense stepping up, trying to, really help out what deficiencies there were on offense the last few years, and that's what they're trying to go for again. I like Jawan Bentley, I like Matthew Judon, I like Christian Barmore, I like Dietrich Wise, I like Howler, I like these guys. Like they're good, but it's not like I don't think it's just going to be some absolutely dominant defensive either. I think they're going to be, good. Someone I'd probably put in the top half, but it's not going to be good enough where it's just going to carry them to wins.
Yeah, I think honestly the reason I put them here is just the respect for Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Mac Jones, like you mentioned, he did show some, some promise in his rookie season, and way back when we were doing our quarterback shows, we were talking this guy's going to be NFL ready, but his ceiling, not really the highest. And I think that's just describes this team perfectly, because I think the team as a whole is going to be a very well-connected group, because Bill Belichick's groups are always like that. But where's the high-end talent? You lost J.C. Jackson, your best defensive player last year. He's going to the L.A. Chargers. You lost Ted Karras, a good offensive lineman for you. And you didn't really add anyone. And you added Jabril Peppers and Terrence Mitchell, from Houston. But are those going to be guys that can come in and replace the hole that J.C. Jackson is leaving? I don't think so.
I agree.
So it's just a team that is going to be competitive, is well-rounded, but just does not have a ceiling, in my opinion. Like, the ceiling is right next to their floor.
I agree.
All right. Now, Jets or let's go to the Dolphins.
Sure.
Because I've got them as my number 2.
Yeah.
Go ahead. The Dolphins' big addition, obviously, Tyreek Hill. Great to get a huge wide receiver like that. And this is where they are just putting all the chips in the pile. They're saying, hey, go out, Tua, and let's see if you got it. You bring in Teron Armstead, the best offensive lineman available in free agency. You brought in Tyreek Hill, like I mentioned, who's going to do good things. Cedric Wilson, a wide receiver, he's going to add some depth. Connor Williams on the offensive line, going to add some depth as well. They put all of their chips in a pile, and now it just comes down to Tua. And I think Tua is a quarterback that will be able to help his team win games with this type of roster. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I don't think he's anywhere close to the guys that were drafted right around him, like Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. But he's going to be a guy that can dump it off to Jalen Waddle, can dump it off to Tyreek Hill, and they can get it done.
And that's where my problem lies. I don't think you can win enough with dump offs. As talented as those two guys are, they're going to take more hits. It's going to require more throws doing the dump offs, and it's just going to wear them down more. And I don't think it's going to work out in the long run. My ultimate no faith in Tua is what comes down to my projection for them. I don't have any faith in him. I don't think he's that dude. I'd much rather be proven wrong than proven right in this. I'd rather Tua go out there, play well, and be a fun team to watch. I'd much rather that happen. It's better for the NFL. It's better for Miami. Better for their fans. Better for fantasy. I'd rather see that than go out there and have them be bad. I don't like bragging about players doing bad, but I just don't have any faith in them at all. I really don't. Back up Teddy Bridgewater. It's just the same player as Tua, really. So whoever's going, you're getting a limited passing offense. That running back core is just horrendous, just terrible. I have zero faith in Chase Edmonds. Raheem Mostert was told doctors that, you're never going to play again. He's going to try playing. So that's not a good sign. When Sony Michel, who has been terribly underwhelming as an NFL player, is your number 3. Like it's not good. It's just so not good. And then, the receivers are awesome in Waddle and Hill. But I don't know how much I believe in and how much they're going to get the ball. I don't think it's going to be very deep downfield. I don't think they're going to have a high depth target. The yardage total isn't going to be enough to, carry this offense going forward. It's really going to be on the back of the defense. And I like a lot of the pieces on defense, but as a whole, it just feels underwhelming to me. It's young. You got some good young pieces, and I'm a huge Javon Holland fan. I'm a huge Jalen Phillips fan. I like Channing Tindall a lot as a rookie. How much he's going to play, I don't know. But it's just fine. There's just not enough that's really saying, oh, this team could repeat what they did last year or be better than the previous year. I just really don't see it happening, especially with the new coaching staff in place.
Yeah, I think that's the big question when it comes to defense specifically, because over the last couple of years, the Miami Dolphins have been able to put out a really good defense, even though the names themselves haven't been super high end. It's similar this year where they don't necessarily have the huge names that you want to see on the defense, but you're coming in with a different coach. And will he be able to bring this unit together as well as Brian Flores did? I think that's a big question. When it comes to the offense, though, I have a lot more faith in Tua, especially because they bolstered his offensive line as well as his receiving options. So he's going to have more time. He's going to be able to see the field a little bit more and get the players the ball that he needs to. Definitely not as down as you, but I'm not going to come out here and say that he's going to just turn himself into a top half quarterback in the league. I'm not sure he can do that, but much more faith than you. I think that by no means is this offense going to be bottom 12 in the league. They will definitely be top 20. I would bet they're top half.
Top 20, sure. Top half, I don't know. Just because the running game's going to be so bad. If that stupid intern didn't put out the video of Tua throwing that horrendously underthrown ball that was wobbly in the air, maybe I'd feel a little better about him. Because I thought he took some decent strides last year. But then I see that and look back more and see so many negatives and see it just looks like he's limited as a thrower. And his dad should let him play right-handed. I just feel like mechanically he's a solid quarterback. Why wouldn't you let him throw with his natural arm?
But also,
what? Just for real though. Before you move on for that, sure, yeah, you want your kid to be different, but look at the left-handed quarterbacks in the NFL. In the history of the sport, if you're not elite, you don't get to stick around because the ball's spinning differently, the offense is flipped. It's just more natural to be a righty. Why won't you let your kid just play natural-handed?
I don't know.
I don't get it. It's so weird.
I don't get the philosophy either, but...
and isn't Talia right-handed?
He's both. He's ambidextrous.
Is he actually?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I will say that the video of Tyreek and the underthrown pass... That was what? A week into Tyreek being there?
Yeah.
And just look at how long it took Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to be connecting perfectly on their throws. It took them all the way through preseason and training camp for them to finally get what they had back. And that's playing together formally. So
yeah.
I think it's going to take a good amount of time. And I think there could very well be a chance where Tua and Tyreek's connection is ready to go by week 1. So,
but just saying that, you're saying it took the Bengals till week 1. There was no previous experience here, so it should take longer than week 1.
Look at the training camp, though. Look at the training camp difference. Joe Burrow not really playing because of the injury, and the Dolphins are really going to have this full training camp, and that's one thing with the Bengals that I'll probably bring up is this is going to be Joe Burrow's first real training camp, and it's kind of being cut short anyways because of the appendicitis.
It really depends how creative. If the offense can be creative and find ways to get Waddle and Tyreek Hill the ball in unique ways, because I don't think it's going to be very deep downfield. I really don't.
Yeah.
Then I think there's a chance that they outperform what I have them at. But it's a new coaching staff. You can't really trust that's going to happen right away.
Right. All right, let's quickly go over the Jets now. You and I both have them at 7-10. I mean, they did a lot of good things in the offseason, bringing in a lot of really talented players. And if Zach Wilson can take a step at all, this is definitely a team to watch out for.
He's got that dog in him, obviously.
He sure does.
On social media. But, he definitely needs to take that step forward. Brees is an awesome talent. He's going to be a very good running back as a rookie. He's going to be one of the better running backs in the league as a rookie. The receiving core I do love. I like Garrett Wilson. I like Corey Davis. I like Elijah Moore. It's a great 3 to have. The tight end room is icky with C.J. Uzomah being your 1. Tyler Conklin's right now your number 2. Jeremy Ruckert is your number 3. I think he's going to...
A lot of depth, though.
It's deep, but I think Jeremy Ruckert becomes kind of the number 2 and gets some playing time. Just don't love it. And then, if Breece Hall needs to get spelled, Michael Carter was fine last year. So, all that's fine. The offensive line is just... It's young, especially on the right side where... the right side's a lot more where the ball gets run, so maybe there's some hiccups in the running game because of that. Maybe Vera Tucker and Becton both step up and play even better, and then the running game's fine. I don't know. It's kind of a wait and see thing, but I do have faith in those 2 young offensive linemen very much. So I think they're gonna take the right steps forward, but still gonna be a team that just needs a little more time to develop offensively.
Yeah, I think that a little bit more time is a perfect way to explain this Jets team because they've got a lot of pieces that are very talented and can have a lot of success, but they're still very young. There's going to be hiccups in their game. And so give it a little bit more time, but they're heading in the right direction, no doubt. Carl Lawson's going to be coming back, and I don't know if you've seen any videos of him this offseason. He's jacked as usual. Carl Lawson played really well with the Bengals, and I was sad. Dude. Yeah, I was sad when he left, but he's going to be doing well here. They added Jermaine Johnson, who was one of our top edge players.
I love Jermaine, my 9th ranked player in the draft.
And then they added my number 1 corner and Sauce Gardner, my number 1 wide receiver and Garrett Wilson, and my number 1 running back in Breece Hall. So they just added a lot of talent through the draft, added, not much through free agency, but again, they didn't really lose much. They lost Marcus May, and that's about it. So
you know what this team's best chance of success is? Other than like the obvious things like Zach Wilson taking a step forward, is their special teams because they have a top 5 punter in the league, in my opinion, Braden Mann. I think he's great. They have a top 5 kicker in the league in Greg Zuerlein. So we've seen, if you remember, I think it was the 2015 Chargers team, had the number 1 offense, number 1 defense, but the last ranked special teams and missed playoffs. To have the number 1 offense and defense and still miss playoffs because your special teams is that bad tells you everything you need to know about how important special teams is to the NFL and to football. And it starts off with a great punter and a great kicker. I think they have enough, like athletes that are going to go out there and be good in the return game and, in terms of actually attacking and defending the return. Braxton Berrios is a really nice kick returner. I think he's, got enough shiftiness where he can go out there and have some success. Maybe there's some other guys that get some chance at that as well, but Braxton Berrios is probably that dude for now. If the special teams ends up as like a top 10 unit, this could be a team that sneaks in the playoffs. But I do kind of feel like if it ends up, being like league average right now, 7 wins just feels like it's right.
Yeah. And just looking at the team as a whole, like, when was the last time you've seen a Jets team with this many talented players?
It's been a while.
Quinnen Williams, Carl Lawson, Ahmad Gardner.
Yeah, you just listed 2 guys around the team last year.
Yeah. But and they were injured, though.
Yeah, I know. But
Jermaine Johnson,
Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson.
All those guys on defense, and then, like you said, Jermaine, I'm just butchering this. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson on offense, as well as Elijah Moore, who they brought in last year, and Zach Wilson. So it's just going to be a fun team.
It's going to be a better team to root for. And this is a team that has a chance to surprise, but it's not going to like supplant the Bills unless the Bills have a just horrendous season for some reason.
A minor version of the Bengals, I think. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, not to the extent that the Bengals did this past year, but
it's all about your Bengals at the end of the day.
It is. The Jets are a team I'm actually really excited to watch, and probably up there in my top 5 for teams that I'll be rooting for this season.
Interesting.
So. All right, well, that's going to do it for the show. I want to thank you so much for coming out and giving it a listen. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. It's again on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. We do have our next episode taking a little bit of a break from our division breakdown. It's going to be doing a hot takes episode, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Not sure who our guests are going to be yet, but we'll make sure to get some on, and that's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to stay, or if you are watching on YouTube, if you could please give us a like, comment, subscribe. We would really appreciate that. Hit the bell to turn on notifications. YouTube will let you know when our new episodes come out. And down there in the comments, let us know what your AFC and NFC East predictions look like. If you are listening on a podcast platform, if you could please give us a follow and a 5-star rating, we would really appreciate it. I want to thank you so much for coming out. And as always, we're not professionals.